There we go. So if I go to lumland.com, it loads up this silly web page with a picture of Lum, the character. Oh, and parts of it are missing. It used to say Star Wars up there at the top. It no longer does, or something like that. Okay, anyways, we can right-click on it, do View Page Source, and this is the text file that we got back from the other server. And it's the browser's responsibility to turn all that text into an actual, graphic document. In the old days, before the 90s, when you were using the internet existed before browsers, but you were dealing entirely in text. And there were text-based browsers. One of them was called Gopher, and you'd go and you'd get a page from the net, and it would display a bunch of text, and you could type which, command you wanted to do or which link you wanted to follow, and it would go that way. Gopher was one of them, and Lynx, Lynx, was the direct predecessor of graphical interfaces. So what this does is the browser runs something called the document object model, where everything on the screen, if we flip back over here, everything in it is an object in the document that corresponds to an element over here. So yeah, this is saying, okay, I want you to go to this background and grab this picture. And that picture happens to be the picture of the planet. Every one of these so-called tags, it creates an object in the memory of the browser. The most obvious objects are things like image. This is an image that gets loaded up that contains that anime character. And here's an image that gets, not an image. Here is a link, a reference, a clickable link that'll take you to a page. And I don't think that page exists anymore. If we click it, it'll probably say error or something like that. Yeah.
Oh.
Neat. I wonder what that is. Okay. Anyways.
Translate.
Yeah. Oh, I should have done that. Let's translate it.
I think there are languages.
Oh, but parts of it was translated.
Online gambling and online casinos serve the fastest developing industries on the web. All right, whatever. Okay. I don't know why that picture of the
Why was it on
of the
this?
character came on this one. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So each tag corresponds to a so-called object. And an object is a member of a class. So behind the scenes, the browser is creating new objects based on some kind of class. So that's an object, the image. There's an object called table. Each table has a row, at least one row, and at least one column in that row. TR stands for row. TD, for some reason, stands for an item in that row. Not sure why TD. TR made sense. Row, D, I don't know. So you have these tags. That's what's known as a tag. The things inside the angle braces are tags. And then the tags have attributes. This tag, the division tag, has an attribute. That's what's known as a CSS, cascading style sheet attribute. It sets the padding of this block of text on the screen. Padding being, how much space there is on the sides, kind of like the margins. So we're going to learn what each one of these tags mean, and we're going to learn something about attributes as well. It used to be that there were a lot more attributes. Meaning you might have a single word here, and then it might, well, here, let me give you an example. To create a reference to an image, you do something like this. Image source equals, and then you put the path to the image, whatever.jpg. Do you remember when we downloaded some kitten pictures or puppy pictures or whatever?
Yep.
Let's actually create a web page. It's going to be the best web page in the world. It's got to have one picture in it. So HTML, all of our documents need to start with that tag. This one's not going to have a header, so we're just going to go straight to body. We actually need to replace whatever.jpg with one of the file names, of the kittens or whatever, but we'll do that in a minute. Now we're done with our document, so we have to close the body, and we have to close the document as a whole. If it's a closing tag, it'll have a backslash. So this means the end of the HTML document, document object. This means it's the end of the body object. Some tags don't have closing tags. An image only has one piece of data, whereas a body can have, 10,000 things inside the body of your page. So you have an open tag and you have a closed tag for body, but you don't have an open image and a closed image because the image only indicates one image. That's why there's nothing with a slash. So then do a file save as, and where it says save as type text document, change that to all files. And put it in the same directory as your pictures. And let's just call it myfirst.html. Now we need to view that. So open up your scripting directory. See, it's got a different icon than a text file would. If you did not choose all files, then it called it myfirst.html.text, and when you click on it, it's going to open it in Notepad. But since we did a save as, hopefully you did this, when you did save as, you said all files rather than text. It did not add that txt extension, so it'll open it as a web page. Go here, double click on it. That's what we get. This is our awesome web page. That's a broken link. That image doesn't really exist. Let's find the name of one of our images. I know I had several of them. I can't find them. I'm going to open by details, click on type. I'm getting frustrated. I'm just going to go get a new image. Why don't I go to lumland.com and save her? Right click, save image as. I'm going to save it in my scripting directory, and I'm just going to call it image.jpg. Now I know there is an image in that directory. I just saved it. Where'd it go? There he is, image.jpg.
Our pictures aren't here because we did it in the other classroom.
We did it in the other classroom. Okay, you're right. Thank you for
I
coming
was
up with a
looking at mine, I'm like,
good explanation.
I know I have it in here. And
Right.
I was like, oh, dude.
Okay, so anyways, where I called it whatever.jpg, we want to change it to a real live image. So call that image.jpg. And then go back, double click on the HTML file, and we should actually see a picture. And there we are with Princess Lum. That's really old anime. Okay. 80s, late 80s. All right, we have created our first HTML document. And I know that some of y'all have already done HTML. And some of y'all haven't. So this is geared towards the people who haven't. We could put other stuff. There's a P tag, which kind of stands for paragraph. We're going to put some text in it. So P, this is quite possibly the best page on the internet. /P. Now it would be nifty neat if while I was editing it, I could then do, view or preview, and it would show it in a web page. And it would be neat. We can't do that with Notepad, but we can do that with TextPad. So close Notepad, go find your HTML page, and if you're doing this on a PC rather than a Mac, you ought to be able to do open with TextPad. That brings the web page up. I'm going to have to change the size of the font so y'all can read it. And there should be view. I'm not seeing it. I thought one of the options would let us view it as a web page. There it is. That little globe. You click that and it launches the browser. So that's easier than having to go and double click on the file.
For some reason, mine opened it in a web browser, or in Notepad again. From TextPad, it opened it in Notepad.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, just a second. I'll come look.
Okay, when you first save it, I accidentally forgot, I left the HTML off. So
Okay, do a save as then,
okay.
from within TextPad. Save as,
Index.
change save as type HTML. So the problem is if you have a TXT extension on it, it's not going to browse, to preview in the browser. So we did save as from within TextPad and changed it as HTML. Now if you don't have TextPad on your computer and you're doing this at home, well then keep doing everything in Notepad and opening it the way that we saw a minute ago. All right, uno momento while I figure out how to change the size of the text. This always takes me a minute.
I wish I remembered.
Something I'm curious about is that, what was it? Oh yes, how, like once you've created your web page, how do you get it onto the internet where people can use it?
You have to upload it.
So what's that?
One way of uploading files is with FTP. Some web servers let you open a, just like D2L, let you select a file and upload it. Some web servers let you upload files like that. A lot of them do nowadays. All right, that's how I change the size of it. Okay. So we know the difference between a tag and an attribute. However, we only have one attribute here. That is an attribute. Let's make a link that'll go to another page. We could make another HTML page right on in our folder. Instead, we're going to make it right here. I mean, we're going to link to something on the network, like rose.edu or Google or something like that. So, href, hypertext reference, equals, quote, and then make it http:// they could be forward slashes, rose.edu. Then we have to have our closing tag, but after that closing tag, we have to have some text that describes that link. So for now, I'm going to make it dumb. It's just going to say my link, and then we have to close that tag, /a. Now, if you really are nuts, no, I won't say that. If you like to see this kind of stuff formatted correctly, just like in Python, you have to always indent. Every time you have a tag, you should tab. So as long as it's one with a closing tag. So HTML, HTML, those match up. Body/body, those match up.
Oh, okay, I see.
Oh,
P/P, like that. Now this one, I'm going to kind of break that because I don't feel like doing it like that. But I could. Well, let's see if it works. I'm going to view it in the browser again. If I scroll down here, it should say my link. If I click on that link, it should go to Rose. Okay.
They're
So-
in the same directory. It should point to where your picture is, right? And your picture should show up.
Your picture isn't showing up? All right, just set.
And then we go into here. Boom, yes.
Alrighty. Alrighty, web pages are text files. We've already talked about that. Everything you download that's not an image is a text file. Or, I shouldn't say that. But JavaScript and Python files and HTML pages are all just text. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. What does hypertext mean? Hypertext is the idea that you have a page of text, but then there's a button that takes you to another document. That idea predates web pages, and in fact goes back to like the 1940s.
It was used in old networking, right?
Yeah. So what is a web page? It's got this tag, starts the document. Head starts the header of the document. We skipped that. We didn't put a header in ours. Script encloses JavaScript functions. That's very of much interest to us. We'll get to that. Title specifies the title of the page. Well, let's do that. Let's go at least put a title on our page. So above the body tag, let's do head, and then underneath that slash head, because we need an opening and a closing. I've already forgotten the syntax. Let's.
And then you have to do like H1.
So let's do, no, that's something different. That's for formatting text. This is declaring, this declares that this is the stuff that shows up in the frame of the browser itself, and that this is the stuff that modifies the document as a whole. So let's do title. This is my page, /title. Yeah, I'm having trouble typing. Here we go. So like that. And do you have to do all this tabbing? No, but it helps keep the structure of it in mind. Unlike Python, you could remove every character turn that you wanted to, or every tab or whatever. You could have an entire document in one line. Then save your page and run it. Not that you can see the title. You know, nowadays in the days of tabs, you know, you don't get to see the whole title. But if we only had, titles don't really matter much anymore. But there we go. This is my title, right? You know, if you're being in a different kind of browser, you might see more of the text there. I don't know if anybody's old enough to have used browsers that didn't have tabbed browsing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. So title was more interesting back then. Body starts the body of the document. Image, we know what an image is now. H1 makes some big text. So let's put some big text on our page. Let's go down to body, and underneath the body tag, do H1. This is big text, yo.
Is there a reason that if you close that with a different header, it still does it?
The browsers are built to try to handle bad formatting so that they don't just, you know, crash.
Okay.
So,
Because I noticed that like if you did H1 and then you closed it with H2, it would still run.
it tries to figure it out. Okay, so it says this is big text, yo. Let's add a somewhat smaller header. H2. This is smaller text, but still big. /H2. So that's a header. That's a smaller header. Nowadays, do people do stuff like that? No. They use CSS formatting to make these beautiful web pages with all sorts of elements. And CSS lets you control the, you know, what font it is, what color it is, what size it is, how it responds when you shrink it and grow the page and stuff like that. So we're doing old school 1995 style commands here. People used to change the color of text right in the middle of it with the color command. And I'll show you what I mean. Go down underneath that image before the body tag, and let's create a new /p. This is, now we're going to change our color. Nobody does this anymore. Color is equal to, quote, red, end quote. Important, in all caps, and then /color. And then make sure you have your /p underneath it.
I've been trying to figure this out all day.
Still teach you to do this on Code Academy.
Oh, it didn't make it red.
Change colors in HTML.
Okay, the color tag is so antiquated that I'm not going to take any time figuring out what I did wrong.
Okay, so
We shouldn't be using color tags. If we're professional web designers, we would be using CSS styles. And what a CSS style is it's a reference to a style that you define up here above the body or you can embed the commands right here where you do, let me get rid of this. Let's make the entire line of text red. So we're going to add some CSS formatting to this P tag. Style is equal to color : red. That style is applicable only to this paragraph of text. What if you don't want it to be a new paragraph? What if you just want it to be a subsection of it? Then you use a different tag called span, not paragraph. So if we wanted to just make that word red, we could do that with a span tag rather than a paragraph tag. All right, now it says this is important.
Did yours show up in red?
Once I did this, P style is equal to color : red. Are you seeing that? I mean, is it showing up as red?
No, but I think I know where I messed up.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so let's try that little bit of business about changing the color of just one word. P, this is not. Now let's put a span tag. Span style equals color : green. And then the word important, and then slash span. One thing you'll notice about HTML is it ignores line breaks. You could put every word on its own line. You know, if I wanted to, I could put this is important. It would still display it exactly the same. So if I scroll down here, this is important is red, this is not important. You can't tell, they look too similar, but that's in green. There is a tag called strong where you can make something boldface. So surround that important tag in the word strong. /strong. Also, there's a tag called big, I think. Put big in front of it and put /big under after it. Make sure you get the right order. It's big and strong. And then when you're closing them, it's strong and big.
In order to make it big, does it have to be strong? Or can you
No, you can use those independently. And again, you should probably actually be controlling those with with the style attribute rather than using these commands. So web design has gotten so complex nowadays that you would probably use some kind of editor to manage all this rather than just hard-coded in Notepad. You could use Dreamweaver or something else that's helping you manage all this stuff.
Wigs.
Pardon me?
Wigs.
Yeah.
It's just, but using that, you don't really get to learn hard code, and that's why I didn't like it.
Right. So by not using a fancy editor, you know, we're getting to learn the guts of it. So tags must have closing tags, with some exceptions, like the image tag didn't have a closing tag. Here's a sample document, HTML head. This is my title, /head, body, header text, body text, /body, /HTML. We can create HTML files with TextPad, with text editors. You can give them either the extension of just .htm, in case you're running this on a DOS machine from 1989, or .html. Or you can use an HTML editor, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, like Dreamweaver. So HTML source code should be formatted to increase readability. Formatting means that the elements should start on a new line and nested blocks should be indented. Browsers ignore multiple white spaces in the page, so formatting is harmless. We could do this. This is stupid, but you know, this is quite possibly the best page on the internet. It would still display the same way. This is quite possibly the best page on the internet. What if you really did want to insert some line breaks? You use the BR tag. So if I wanted a break before that word internet, I could do BR like that. Then when I display it, it'll say this is quite possibly the best page on the internet. Now, do you want to be embedding a lot of breaks in your stuff? Not really, because that makes it so that when you're zooming in and out, the text is not, freely reformatting itself to fit on the page. If you really did want a break there, you should probably put it in its own paragraph or find some other way of formatting it. Now, single tags that don't have closing tags, you can declare them as self-closing tags by putting a slash after it, like that. This says, oh, by the way, BR is its own tag, and I'm just going to close it right here. If you're running your code through a validator to prove that it's 100% HTML compliant, then it's going to want things like that. If you're hacking stuff up like this, you don't really have to do that. I should probably have done that on my image tag as well. Put a slash there to show that this is a self-closing tag. You don't have to do that. The browsers are much more loosey-goosey than what the HTML specs would lead you to believe. If I open a tag, well, like this, I put a p tag here, but I never closed it. And it didn't give me an error. It assumed that when I got to the body tag, that it closed it automatically. So if I ran this through an HTML validator, it would go, no, that's not good. But the browser tries to handle that stuff because you never know, if you're going to be getting good web page from somebody or not. So, my first HTML page. This is some text that will appear on the web page. This doesn't show exactly what this shows, They just showed 3 ellipses here and they had a whole sentence here, but we get the idea. We know what a title tag does, so I'm going to skip some of this stuff. Hyperlink tags, Ahref.
We just did that.
You know what? I honestly forget what the A stands for. Is that an anchor?
Yeah.
A as in symbol.
Anchor tag. An anchor is a piece of text which marks the beginning or end of a hypertext link. You can have other kinds of anchors other than href. Name, rel, rev, earn, title, methods. We're not going to use any of that stuff. The only one I ever see is ahref. Hyperlink tags. There's an attribute for the ahref tag called title. I don't even know what that does. Maybe it presents a little pop-up when you move your mouse over it saying what it is. I'm going to go to my ahref and try that. Ahref is equal to blah, 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 and then after the quote, but before the close the close angle brace, title is equal to, what is this? End quote. I'm thinking that's going to pop up a little, tooltip when I view it and move it over that link. Yeah, you see, it says, what is this? You can put all sorts of attributes in your code in order to make it compliant for people who need, visual screen readers and stuff like that. If you think about it, computers were easier to use before the web was invented for blind people. You could have text, to speech. You could tell it to read you the text, and you could type something in, and you could hear. Nowadays you have to click all over the place, and it's hard to click all over the place if you can't see what you're clicking. A lot of blind people aren't 100% blind, and so they can make do. But in order to make your page compliant for people with disabilities, you need to make sure that if you got voice playing, that you also have some kind of subtitles, available and stuff like that. This text is, here's a tag we didn't show, EM. That's probably like the strong tag. We could replace our big or our strong with EM and see what it does. Here's a self-closing break. This is more emphasized. So strong is even more bolded than just EM. Honestly, I'd never seen an EM tag until I saw this slide, and then I forgot it afterwards.
EM is like a.
Is there a way to, like, instead of when you hyperlink it? Before I-
Okay, EM italicizes it. And did you just say that? I thought I heard. Okay. I'm sorry, I did not understand your question.
I got what I was.
Okay.
I got what I was thinking.
Okay, so far we've seen all this. Div and span. What div does is it breaks your page up into rectangular blocks. Let's try this one. Let's use div and then style background equals something. So go back to our page, and up here at the top, even before the this is big text Joe, or maybe after it, I don't know. Yeah, between the /H1 and the open H2, let's do div style is equal to background : blue, semicolon, color equals white. I'm sorry, that's not not color equals white, just color : white. And let's put a paragraph of text in there. This is some text in a div. /p/div. Now I'm going to take the time to tab everything over a little bit, like that. So that's what I just added. I should display it before I... Here we go. See what this did? Blue background with white text on it. That was done by this. You can give a name to a div block, and then you can reference that name in your CSS formatting so that you can control all the formatting for all the text in that block with one single change somewhere up above. All right, HTML structure in depth. I'm not sure how much in depth we want to get. The doc type declaration.
That made the whole thing.
We should be adding something to our web page called doc type, which tells the browser what kind of HTML we are supporting. If we're doing really fancy HTML with, video and stuff like that, we might be needing to use HTML5 and stuff like that. We skipped that. XHTML is more strict than HTML. All tags and attributes must be in lowercase. They all must be closed, while HTML allows you to imply that they're being closed. All right. I'm not sure how many more of these we're going to go. Comments. If you want to put a comment in your code, you use this kind of notation, if you can see it. Angle brace, ! dash dash, that starts the comment. And then at the end, dash dash, angle brace. So I'm going to add a comment to the very top of my code. Maybe right under the HTML tag. Angle brace, exclamation mark, dash, dash. This is a comment. Incredible. Your comment can span multiple lines. Comments are completely ignored. If I put an image tag or if I put some text in there or whatever, we won't see it. Exactly the same as Python. You use comments for the same kind of stuff. So text formatting. B stands for bold. I stands for italics. U stands for underline. Again, a lot of this stuff is handled through CSS now. Emphasize, strong, subscript, SUB. I'm looking for the things like buttons and input fields. So I'm skipping past some of this stuff. So, since I'm not seeing anything super duper interesting in the first 45 pages, why don't we go ahead and create a little table? Go up in here underneath our body tag. Let's create a table. Table. TR. That's a new row. TD. That's a new column within that row. Hello. /TD. Another TD. Goodbye. /TD. /TR. /table. This is not going to make for a great looking table. Let's see what it does. See what it did there? It didn't put any formatting in it. We could add some formatting. We could put lines around the table as a whole. We could put lines around each element in it. So here I'm going to do TD. I'm going to add a style to it. Style equals border colon 1px space solid space red. And then I'm going to copy that so that I can paste it into the other TD element as well. And there, see, it says hello and goodbye. We could control it better than that. All sorts of ways you can control tables. This is like the simplest form of the table. There's like a T-body tag and a T-head tag, which allows you to set the header of the table and the body. You can make an element span more than one column. And there's all sorts of things you can do with tables. When you're curious about something, you could come up here and type in table tag HTML and just kind of look around. See what you find. Here's an example of a table. This one says that you can use a border tag. Table's a tag. You could use an attribute called border. Border is equal to quote 1. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to go back to here, and where it says table, I'm going to change that to say table border equals quote 1.
You can make those.
And you see it put a black border around it. I wonder what would happen if I removed that style from the TD, if it would still have no internal borders or not. This is just an experiment. You don't have to do this. Well, it left the borders, but it put them in black rather than red.
You didn't have to do anything to get your, because like you see how like your head and your title and all that's in blue, and when I did that to my table, it didn't recognize it as.
Okay, let me come
I
look.
guess, a tag.
So if we were going to make a list of the tags that we've looked at, we've seen HTML. I'm not going to even put braces around them. We've seen header. We've seen body. What else have we seen?
Title.
Title was part of, yeah, you're right. Title's a tag. That's
H1.
H1 and H2
um,
and other ones like strong and big.
Divide. Div.
Image,
href.
P,
Yeah, so IMG, P, A. I'm going to go ahead and use the whole thing, Ahref. Table,
Yeah.
which has got TRs and TDs in it.
comment,
And comment, yeah. Okay.
What we got here?
and span.
What happened?
And span, you're right. Just like div. And I don't even, yeah, so div. I am confusing myself, yeah. Uno momento.
We'll get there.
Yeah, span. HR draws a horizontal line. Center, you can center your text. Whenever you see the word deprecated, it means that you ought to be handling it in a different way, probably through the style attribute. An awful lot of tags specifically for formatting text and stuff like that are now deprecated. They will still work, but the right way to do it is to do it through style tags. And since it says deprecated, then that means that browsers of the future might even completely ignore them. Probably not, because you know they still want old web pages to still load. But
Right. Throwbacks.
yeah. OL stands for unordered list. Excuse me, that's UL. OL stands for ordered list. It creates a list of numbered items. OL type equals 1, that means it's going to be ordered with numbers rather than letters. I guess if you use type is equal to A, it would list it as A, B, and C. Yeah, so 1, uppercase A, lowercase a, you like Roman numerals, use I. You don't like Roman numerals, you use lowercase I. All right, guys, just because I'm not having y'all type in doesn't mean that I don't want you looking up here. Okay. Unordered list, just put in bullets, you know, circles, boxes, that kind of thing. Same kind of stuff that we've been doing before. You know, you put that tag and then your list item and then the end of the list item. The list item, the end of the list item. The list item, the end of the list item, and then you close that.
So,
Now, pardon?
if you wanted to make that like it's listed, but let's say it was a name of something, and you wanted to be able to take it down in your page, can you link it to something in your page?
So that you could click on it and it would take you to a different section.
Like
Right.
Apple, and it'll
Right,
tell you-
right. You can do that, and you may have seen that like on when you have a directory of links up at the top,
Yeah.
and you click on it and it scrolls down to the right page
right.
or the right paragraph.
WikiLinks is the
Yeah. A definition list. I don't even remember what that does. Pairs of text and their associated definition. Renders without bullets. I don't know what that is. Skip.
Like a dictionary, maybe?
Maybe.
eh,
Okay, here like this, DTL HTML/D
And it pairs
and
it
then
with-
a markup language. So yeah, it puts a word there and then a description of that word.
oh, that's cool.
Special characters. What if you need to type in a greater than sign or a less than sign? That's kind of a problem because what if you're here inside your code and you wanted to put text like that, you know? You wanted those symbols there. That's not going to work. Quotes won't help.
You have to use like a slash, right?
Exactly. We have to use a special symbol, which means that it starts with an ampersand, LT for less than, and then semicolon. And now I'm going to put a greater than after it. Ampersand, GT for greater than, semicolon. So these special characters, they start with an ampersand, and then they have some series of letters or numbers.
What if you wanted to put in the ampersand?
Yeah, then you do amp, perhaps. Yeah, it seemed to accept that. So ampersand, AMP, let's see if that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a list of that someplace? Right there, right there.
Yeah, there's all sorts of special characters. Anything that is defined out there as Unicode, you can do like this.
In fact,
Ampersand, number sign, followed by a couple by digits that represent the numeric value.
you
Pardon
can't
me?
do emojis that way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, let's do that.
You'd have to look up the code for.
Emoji HTML code.
There we go. Awesome.
1F601 might work.
What's the U in front of that for then?
Stands for
Reduced-
Unicode.
Oh, okay, got it. That's one way of finding out how they do it.
All right. Let's make a crying face, tears of joy. Nah, let's do the little devilish face. He's kind of cute. Okay, I feel like this is so important. He's going to go in his own paragraph. So somewhere add a p tag and a slash p tag. Inside there, do ampersand. I've already forgotten the syntax for it. Ampersand number sign followed by the numbers and followed by a semicolon. Okay. So ampersand hashtag. Well, that didn't work. Oh, come on. You didn't let me copy the value itself. How can I remember this? Help me remember. 128520. Okay. So 128520 semicolon. Let's see if that actually displays. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty boring looking. It's not as pretty. I wonder if you viewed it on, iPhone or Android, if it'd be prettier than that.
I like it. It looks good.
But I like it. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna make another one right behind the other word.
Let's put a comment saying what this is. Emoji wicked face. Wicked, man. All right. All right, we're about to stop here. And then what we're going to do is on Wednesday, we're going to start with JavaScript. And the way JavaScript works is it lets you change things in here. It lets you insert new tags while it's running, or it lets you remove tags or hide them or change their color. It used to be a big deal. I move my mouse over something and it changes color. Wow, I'm an awesome programmer. That kind of stuff. You can do that through JavaScript. You can also do it just through CSS formatting. But, pages like Amazon. Forgive me for butt dialing my iPad. Okay. So anyways, it lets you interact with that document object model. Since everything in here is in memory in the browser, you can insert new elements programmatically. You can delete elements. You can change them. And that's how complex web pages work. Back in olden days, you would just type something in and you would hit enter or press a button, and it would have to send that information all the way back to the server, and then it would bring back an updated page. You could not build something as complex as Amazon doing that, you know. This is just chock full of JavaScript in order to handle this kind of stuff. You know, to be able to click something and have it do a pull down list and whoops. You know, all that kind of stuff. You see that it happened immediately. It did not have to go to the server and bring a new page. It'd be really annoying if when I wanted to click on that or wanted to see what was under that, if I went over there and highlighted it and then it paused for 5 seconds while it made another access out to the internet and brought you an entirely new page. So JavaScript allows for this interactivity where things light up, where you can click on stuff and it doesn't have to go back to the server in order to bring an update.
JavaScript's still used a lot.
All over the place. It rules the web. There's probably 10,000 lines of JavaScript written for every one line of Java or Python. You know, it's just all over the place because every web page you load has loads of JavaScript attached to it in order to make it look all attractive, rather than just like our page. The difference between this and the one that we did. Okay, so let's make a Dropbox for our HTML file, and we will be done.